supposed to be the marvel of the modern world. Talk about false advertising. City of Mako? City of garbage, more like.
Damn, Yuffie's got bars. What's going on, people? Welcome to the channel. I go by the name of Debug, and welcome to my latest review showcase, demonstrating whatever you want to call it. And this week's video is going to be about a game that I thoroughly enjoyed playing, and that is the DLC of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Want to start off by saying a massive thank you to the people at Square Enix who provided us with this DLC, and being a big Final Fantasy VII fan, I couldn't wait to get into INTERmission. Bruv, the game's called INTERmission, not go into intermission. Yeah, now you know though. Oh, sorry. Let's begin. Final Fantasy VII INTERmission is our first DLC for the ever popular Final Fantasy VII Remake series. The DLC covers Yuffie and Ninja working for Wutai alongside her partner Sonon, who link up and try and steal Shinra's ultimate materia. Yuffie, back in the original game, was an optional party member, so this is the first time actually having her as the main protagonist. The story picks up right about the same time where we lose Cloud in the Final Fantasy VII Remake series, and he spends his time with Aerith. Now, whilst this is a DLC, we still managed to get a couple of chapters as well as a couple of new additions to the game. Now, obviously, as well as INTERmission, Square Enix has actually given us an upgrade version of Final Fantasy with Integrate, an upgrade that is for the PS5. This adds up so much more texture as well as upgrading the graphics to make it one of the best looking PS5 games currently out there. So what's in the DLC? The game takes us back to the slums in Chapter 1 and then eventually takes us to Shinra headquarters in Chapter 2. Both chapters will have never seen before areas, giving you a fresh feeling whilst also giving us those familiar places and faces that we got so used to in the original Final Fantasy VII Remake. Whereas the combat predecessors such as Final Fantasy 15 and 7 Remake sometimes had its faults, it seems that with Yuffie and INTERmission, all those faults go away. The combat is some of the most smoothing and rewarding I've seen from a Final Fantasy game that is not turn-based. The combos that you can do is something that you'd get from a big popular action-adventure franchise, and with INTERmission can definitely hold its own. It's also the first time we got to use ranged weapons, so bosses from afar can get broken, and we get introduced to the synchronized fighting style where you can enable both you and Sonon to fight together, creating even more amazing combos. Whilst the game starts in the same slums that we spent so much time in with Cloud and Co, INTERmission adds its own stamp with the addition of side missions and the biggest addition with Fort Condor. For those that don't know, Fort Condor was in the original game, and INTERmission does a great job adding it as a minigame. You can wander the slums and challenge characters that we know well from Final Fantasy VII Remake for great distractions from the main missions. It's similar to like Witcher and Gwent, so it's definitely a welcome addition to the game. Whilst the game can roughly get completed within 5-6 hours if ran quickly, you do get an amazing experience which adds to the further Final Fantasy VII Remake experience. The addition of new bosses along with Yuffie's amazing fighting technique made the boss fights exhilarating and felt like nothing before from its previous games. We also get introduced to a new summon in Rama, which I may add looks ridiculously sick. Another area that I want to emphasize is the new music that is added on top of an already strong soundtrack. As always, no game is perfect, and there are definitely probably some areas that I would like INTERmission to improve on. One of those being the inability to use Sonon. He was a great introduction to the series and would have loved to use him more in combat just to give a bit more variety. The second point is that this is a PS5 exclusive, so with the shortage of PS5s out there, and all the people that played Final Fantasy VII Remake, such as myself on the PS4, will not be able to experience this at the moment unless you have a PS5, which, you know, is very hard to get at the moment, so that's somewhat of a downside. While some people question why Yuffie would be a standalone DLC, I personally feel as INTERmission is a great addition to the Final Fantasy Remake world. Being back in the slums, seeing all those familiar faces spots, reminded me what an amazing game Final Fantasy VII Remake was and how much fun I had playing it. Playing Yuffie was a very fun addition and something that I probably thought I never needed, but I'm glad it came out. The only downside to this is that it makes me want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 even more now, and I can't wait for it to come out. Whilst I understand people don't want to pay more money for a DLC, whilst knowing there's another game coming out soon, but trust me, with the ending, without spoiling anything, makes it worth it. Especially if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan. Even if you're not fully invested in the Final Fantasy VII franchise, if you're up for good fun, solid gameplay with impressive graphics, Intermission is definitely worth a purchase. So that's it people, that is the end of the video. What do you people think of Intermission? Is it something that you play? Are you excited to play Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2? Let me know in the comments section below. As always, hit that subscribe button, it'd be much appreciated. And as always, follow us on all our socials in the description below. Until next week guys, I'm out. Peace.